We should not only be able to build great websites and web applications, but also we should be able to manage them. Building web applications and sites are not just about creating HTML, CSS, and JavaScript files. It is also important to build them such that they are compatible with older browsers. In order to achieve this, we can make use of CSS processors and transpilers. In this session, let us see how we can make use of Gulp or Gulp.js for managing the process of building websites. Gulp can be used for managing and creating common actions and functionalities for workflows that are referred to as Gulp tasks. Let us understand the fundamental concepts of this tool and get started working with it using its latest version and create a simple Gulp task. We can use vanilla JavaScript to create our actions or tasks in Gulp and manage them. Now, before we can actually create a task, first of all, we need to create a file called as gulpfile.js in our application's project directory. Now, this file could be named gulpfile.js with a lowercase g, or it could be named gulpfile.js with a uppercase G. The gulp command looks for gulpfile.js and executes whatever is inside it. Also, as an alternative, we can create a folder named as gulpfile.js and place a index.js file in it that will get loaded when the gulp command is issued. Index.js can then be used to refer to other files if required. Gulp tasks can be specified using callbacks, promises, observables, event emitters, child processes, etc. A gulp task is created by specifying a source and a destination. Within a task, we create multiple sequential pipes. Typically, source is used to specify the file that will be acted upon, and destination the target location. Pipes will forward the source results to module that will do some processing, which will send or forward to the destination. Each task can also be optionally exported using exports. Now, this is how a task would look like in JavaScript or gulp.js when we make use of a callback. First, we need to specify the source and destination to be requiring our gulp library, and then we specify our function, here in this case test, which is our task, with a callback as the parameter or argument. Within our task or function, we specify the source with index.html to be the source file, and make use of pipe and specify the destination as the target folder, and then call callback. After our task, we can make use of exports to export our task. Here in this case, we specify exports.default equal to test. Default will ensure the gulp command that this task is the default task, so that whenever gulp is issued, this task will be executed automatically. Now you can refer to this link for accomplishing tasks in a variety of different manners. Now, if you were to specify a task using async await, the syntax would be something like this. You specify the source and destination to be requiring the gulp library, and then just before function, you specify the keyword async, and within the function, you specify await. Note, you do not need to specify your callback as the parameter here, and then you can export it. Okay. So let us now see an example of how to install Gulp and create a simple task. Now in my desktop I have a project or a web project called as Gulp Test. Let us open this project in Visual Studio Code. Okay. Now before we install Gulp, we need to understand that there is a prerequisite before which we can make use of Gulp in our project. Gulp requires that Node is already available in our system, or the prerequisite for having Gulp is Node. So I have already installed Node in my system. So if you have not already installed Node, make sure that Node is available inside your system. So after installing Node, you can go to the command line or terminal and check if it is available by issuing node --version. And also please check npm is available as well. So for that you can give npm --version. So we have got node and npm available or installed in our system. Now we can go ahead and install Gulp. Before we install Gulp, we need to ensure that we have a file called as package.json in our project. So this is our project. We don't have a file called as package.json. Now, what is the need for having package.json? Now, package.json will have all the project's dependencies in the form of modules. So as we will be installing Gulp as a module, and the Gulp module will have certain dependencies, all this will be available as node modules. And this should be specified using our package.json file, which we will create using npm init -y to answer yes to all the questions. So as you can see, this has installed package.json. So within package.json, let us remove main and scripts. For the purpose of illustration, we do not want main and scripts. We have name as the name of our project, Gulp test, version, description. Let us include the author name to be, say, my name here, and change the license from ISC to MIT and save it. So we have our package.json now. Now let us go ahead and install Gulp. Before we install Gulp to our project, let us install Gulp as a command line utility that will be available globally in our system. To do that, we issue npm install Gulp CLI -g. Now this will go ahead and install Gulp as a command line utility globally in our system. So we can check that by issuing Gulp --version. So Gulp is available. Now let us install Gulp locally as a module within our project, Gulp test. So for that, again we can issue npm install --save dev Gulp to install Gulp as a developer dependency for this project. So you can see node modules directory has been created. You can note package log.json file has also been created. So now Gulp has been installed as a module within our local project location, that is inside Gulp test. So if you open project log.json, so here we have got settings for the different dependencies that are available within this particular folder, node modules. So now that Gulp is available globally and locally, let us go ahead and create a simple task. Now to create a task, we need to have a file called as gulpfile.js. So from within our project directory, let us create a file called as gulpfile.js and create a simple task in a callback style. So for that, let us start by specifying a constant and specify our source and destination src, dest to be requiring our gulp library. So after this, we can write our task in the form of a function, say call it as test, and pass in our callback, and within our function we can say source and specify the source name as, we have an index.html file here which we can refer to as the source, index.html, and then we can pipe it by calling pipe and specify the destination to be a folder. So let us call the folder name as target. Okay, and let us call cb next, which is our callback. So after our task, let us make use of exports and then say dot default, so that this task is the default task which should be executed when gulp is called or gulp is issued. So exports.default is equal to our task name, which is test. So now from the terminal, we can issue gulp. So note, after 11 milliseconds, this has been finished, and we can find a folder called as target, which contains index.html. So index.html is now also available inside this folder, index.html, through a gulp task. Thank you.